Who had dinner with GM Bill Armstrong at the scouting combine? We'll tell you because it talks about who the Mammoth could pick, but also more importantly, who they might not pick.
You are Locked On Mammoth, your daily podcast on the Utah Mammoth, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome in once again to another edition of Locked On Mammoth. I'm veteran NHL voice Tom Callahan, joined by longtime team analyst Robyn Leaño, and we are the dynamic duo that brings you Locked On Mammoth every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen when it comes to the Utah Mammoth. Talking some NHL Draft news. We're going to talk about Clayton Keller. He's up for a prestigious award that we want to discuss a little bit. Plus, first two games of the Stanley Cup Final are in the books. There's a lot of things moving on around the league right now. Robyn, I'm going to talk at the end of the show about Pete DeBoer getting fired because, I called that one. But here's the important thing. The scouting combine was this week, and several players had dinner with general manager Bill Armstrong, or as we refer to him, GMBA for short. It's a lot less to type.
Bill the Builder.
Bill the Builder. Robyn, it's kind of interesting. The combine, it was held in Buffalo, as it tends to be every year, brings in all the GMs and just a lot of scouts, a lot of different folks from around the world of hockey, plus most of the top prospects who are able to attend come to Buffalo. And it's not quite the hype machine the NFL combine is, but it's very important because it really is a chance to get in front of these players who you could potentially be drafting come the end of June.
Yeah, it really is. And there's so much that goes into it. It's really cool to really hear from what happens through the grapevine and everything like that, because we really only hear secondhand sources about what happens, goes down there. Like you said, it's not like the NFL combine. We don't see those things get televised, right? It doesn't because there's a lot more that goes into it, right? There's so much more that goes into it. A lot of things that kind of that fly under the radar. Some, hey, they're going to have dinner with the player or anything like that. Although one thing that can't happen is players providing workouts outside of the compound grounds, which the then Arizona Coyotes were violated a few years back, which that's a whole other story.
That there was a lot of things that the Coyotes did foul of stuff.
The John Chayka, Steve Sullivan era was something.
So, Robyn, I mean, we've kind of opened the door to that one. You got to tell the story now.
So essentially, what happened was, the Arizona Coyotes, around the same time, of the draft combine, invited a select group of prospects to get them on their own workout. They want to do their own thing, but it was kind of off combine grounds, and to the NHL and the NHLPA, that's a big no-no. When they found out that happened, the NHL laid down the hammer, and they essentially forced Arizona to give up their first round draft pick in the next draft, as well as a second and a couple of seconds and a third. They had to give up so many draft picks. But of course, the major one was their I think 11th overall draft pick in the 2021 NHL Draft, which they didn't have one at the moment. Arizona ended up trading up to get there, ended up trading away Oliver Ekman-Larsson and Connor Garland and a few others to get the draft pick that we now know as Dylan Guenther, but they weren't in it at first because they had to give it up.
Yeah, it's crazy. And you think about it too, I mean, you just named, two legit NHL. It obviously OEL was for years in a Coyotes uniform. But Connor Garland was kind of an up-and-comer and really has found a home for himself, and has become an everyday NHLer. So, kudos to them. And it was a lot to give up, but you better hit on that pick. And I think they did okay hitting on
yeah,
the pick
they did okay with that pick. They definitely and here's the thing too. I think that's really important to say is that that draft was an interesting draft mainly because like it was Bill Armstrong's first time in GM, but it wasn't his first draft. I mean, it technically his first draft technically was 22 because he kind of came in late. But it was a whole thing because John Shaker left in 2020, late 2020 when the
left or was pushed, depending on which story you believe.
Yeah, he according to some just abandoned the team. He just kind of just didn't show up one day, kind of job abandonment. And then Steve Sullivan got fired a few months later.
Yeah, that was a tumultuous time. That was, I mean, internally they were just rearranging chairs on a ship that was going down. But so now we're beyond all that because now we're the Utah Mammoth, and this team has moved on, has solidified its front office, solidified its ownership, and back to the combine in Buffalo, New York. You're allowed to take these prospects. You can't take them to work out, but you can take them out for a meal. Yep. And so, Robyn, we had a list of who came back as reported as having dinner with the Mammoth general manager. Do you have that list in front of you? I can pull it up real quick.
Yes. Give me 1 second. I have it among a group here. There you go. All right. So, so Michael Misa, James Higgins, Jake O'Brien, Brady Martin, and Porter Martone.
So those are the ones that at least according to reports, the Mammoth had dinner with. So what does that mean, Robyn? For those who are like, okay, so what does dinner mean? They're going to pick this guy? Well, you obviously can't pick all five. But I think it's fair to say that if you've been invited to dinner, the Utah Mammoth have a serious interest, and the potential exists in their minds that you could end up wearing a Mammoth sweater.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, that's the big thing. And I think what we love to talk about so many times is if you get invited to a dinner, at least you are on the big board, right? You are among these players that the Utah Mammoths radar, like really high on their radar. Like we might want you, we might get you. We just want to see a lot of things, and there's a lot of character aspects, and then it also goes into the somehow like really really weird questions that we'll hear come out like later on. Like we'll see it's like, oh, we'll find out that that as an example, like James Higgins was asked, what was your favorite Lego? Like some random stuff.
Grape or strawberry on your peanut butter and jelly.
Exactly. But
they do ask some weird questions, but there's generally a reason. They have reasons for the questions they ask, although maybe sometimes they'd be better left as icebreakers. However, Robyn, one thing that struck me was someone they didn't have dinner with and why that is significant. And I want to talk about that here in just a moment. And today's show is brought to you in part by Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Well, between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, your streaming services, and all those little subscriptions you have, it's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, all your investments, and all of your spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, it was nice to see everything kind of laid out. That was probably the best part about it. And I talk about not having to juggle apps. That was the hardest thing for me about trying to get my budget together, is I had to jump between apps to see, okay, where's this expenditure? Where's this expenditure? What card is my bill pay on for the electric? What card is my bill pay on for this, for that, whatever, cable? And with Monarch, you actually get to see it all in front of you. And that really helped me tie everything in. It helped me kind of get the budget organized. It made it a lot easier. And then you can start planning, which is the best part about it. And you get your money to go to work for you for a change. So look, take control of your finances. And you can do it with Monarch Money by using our code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño here with you on Locked On Mammoth. Thank you so much for joining us. The everydayers, we appreciate you being here with us and checking out this show dropping on a Monday, June 9th. We'll talk a little Stanley Cup Final here. The first two games were played in Edmonton. We're also going to talk about Clayton Keller. He's up for an award. That's a pretty big deal. I do want to talk about Pete DeBoer being fired, but I want to stick right now with some Mammoth content here and talk about the dinners that were had. I don't think anybody there is a reach, not even Michael Misa, because number one, there's no guarantee that Misa goes second overall, but there's also no guarantee that he'll still be there, but you never know. So you talk to the player if you like the player.
Mm-hmm.
Robyn, they didn't have dinner with Matthew Schaefer, who's projected to go number one overall. Now, why is that significant? Well, what it tells me is that any and all speculation about the Utah Mammoth trading up to the top spot is not something they're entertaining internally. They're not interested. Whatever the price is, they're not going to pay it. Otherwise, they probably would have had dinner with Schaefer. But they didn't, because I don't think that they believe the player is going to be in play for them.
Yeah, and that certainly that certainly makes sense. With the only other way you could look that you could try to spin it is that if they were to trade up, they'd already have their eyes set on Michael Misa, because some people there's some people that have Misa number one, but most people, it's not a consensus, but it's a slight majority have Matthew Schaefer going number one.
Of course, if it's the Islanders making the pick, right? If it's not the Islanders making the pick, then who knows? But I think if it is, the Islanders making the pick, it definitely is Schaefer. So, but I guess we'll find out. So maybe they'll go off the board and they'll grab Higgins. Who knows? That would be wild. That would be
interesting. Higgins at one would be really interesting.
Yeah, that would be crazy. Hey, stranger things have happened. We've seen some weird stuff happen in the NHL entry draft. That's for sure. Everybody,
with how much I love to mention every single time, because it's still fairly recent, of Shane Wright being for the longest time the consensus number one, and then drops all of a sudden, within just a couple of weeks, to 4.
Yeah. And there was some doubt as to whether or not Shane Wright was even going to get picked at number 4. It felt like there was a couple of cinder blocks tied to his skates, and he was just plummeting at that point. That was wild to see teams passing on him.
I know.
I mean, the big shocker, I think, was Montreal when they picked Slafkovsky, but now look at how that panned out for them. Yeah. So that was an awesome pick.
It is interesting. I had a feeling I knew what that draft was. We knew that my thought was it was gonna be initially it was gonna be Wright at number 1, and then Nemec or Slafkovsky at number 2, and then Cooley, no matter what, at number 3. He was gonna go to, of course, the then Arizona Coyotes.
It's crazy to look back on things like that. And quite frankly, Shane Wright has struggled becoming an NHL everyday player. here in the early going. Now, look, plenty of time.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
still really early, especially for a forward. I mean,
Yeah.
like
plenty of
and,
time to figure it out.
yeah, like again, like most, like a lot of NHLers don't peak until their mid to later 20s.
But sometimes by then, one, maybe two teams have already moved on a player. It's crazy how much pressure there is to try to develop by 21, 22, 23 and show that you have trajectory.
Yeah. Although sometimes getting drafted at 4 could be one of the best things that could happen to you because you don't have as much pressure as 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we get closer to the draft, Robyn and I, we are going to do breakdowns on individual players that we haven't done yet. Robyn, you know, it was great. I got a comment from somebody over on Twitter who was talking about, hey guys, I'm behind on the show, but I'm catching up. And they actually commented on an episode from late May. But I love that. And so if you have comments for us, if you have something you want to share with us, please do. It doesn't matter if we talked about it 2 weeks ago. We're still going to entertain the conversation. And at this point of year, a lot of conversations are cyclical because opinions on draft picks change. The standings change. Players may be signed between now and then that may change up a team's needs of the draft or their needs of free agency. Like a lot of things can happen. So you can always reach out to us at Locked On Mammoth and look forward to talking more about that. So, Robyn, any final thoughts on the players that GM Bill Armstrong had dinner with at the Combine?
Yeah, I'll just say, I mean, take a look at maybe to see what take everything into consideration. I think, to me, I think the biggest to pay attention to like I'm going to be looking at is Misa, Higgins, and Martin. O'Brien and Martin is still going to be like something I keep an eye on. Like maybe Utah try to make some kind of move, maybe whether it's down or up or whatever it is, like. But those players could also be in the mix. And just pay attention because the draft season, especially when you are trying to emerge into to be a competitive team, like really anything can happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's the fun part of it. That's why we love doing the show, especially this time of year, because there's so many questions and we're just trying to figure out the answers. It's a lot of fun. Want to remind everybody, if you're still here, if you're listening, if you're watching and you haven't already, please subscribe. If you're on the YouTube side, also hit the thumbs up. Helps us with the algorithm, helps you as well, but we appreciate that. Thank you so much for being a part of the show. And we've got a packed final segment. Got to talk about Clayton Keller, Pete DeBoer, and the Stanley Cup Final. All that's coming your way next. All right, Tom Callahan, Robyn Leaño, the Locked On Mammoth podcast rolls on. Let's start with Clayton Keller, who some congratulations are in order. Not only was Keller, or as Robyn likes to refer to him, Captain America, part of the 2025 IIHF Men's World Championship team for Team USA. He captained the team to that gold medal. Keller captained the team to that World Championship and played in all 10 of the USA's games with 10 points, 3 goals, and 7 assists. Now, the IIHF Men's Player of the Year, which Keller is nominated for, goes to, quote, a player who has best demonstrated exceptional skill, determination, team success, and sporting character on and off the ice during the most recent season. The player must have competed in at least one IIHF tournament at any level this season, as well as in a domestic league of the highest caliber for that country, the combined performances of which are considered superior to all other players. So, Robyn, to be nominated for that, it takes into account the World Championships, but also the NHL season. That's a pretty impressive feather in the cap just to be in the nominating party.
I mean, it really is, right? I mean, like, also, like, when you think about how the nomination goes, though, I don't think it really should surprise very many of us still, though, because of, I mean, look, we have been covering, Clayton Keller and have been raising Clayton Keller up for months now, right? Months, even longer than that, for just forever. And we're saying, hey, this kid's just a whole nother kind of thing. And it's amazing how I think to us, it's refreshing that he's finally getting the recognition.
Yes. And maybe even winning the IIHF Men's Player of the Year award would take him from Captain America to perhaps International Man of Mystery.
We'll see. We'll figure it out.
So little Austin Powers there for you, folks. Either way, Clayton, we're rooting for you. Hope you get the award. It's fantastic. Like a huge honor. And it just, again, the NHL season, 90 points, and Clayton Keller, setting personal bests this year in the NHL, and then picking up the World Championship with Team USA in that captain's role, point a game. Awesome. So very deserving of the nomination.
Like I said, I'll say this, because of all this, this gives me the opportunity to say it one more time. If you are on the USA Hockey Committee, this goes specifically to you. If Clayton Keller is not named to the Olympic team for this next year, I will personally go over to the USA Hockey IOC headquarters or whatever and flip your table.
Robyn and I may have to converge on Colorado Springs.
Yep.
It may come down to that. So hopefully it doesn't, though. And hopefully Clayton Keller is now a shoe-in for Team USA in 2026. So I can't see why not. I still don't know how there was no Four Nations, but at this point, come on. So anyhow, congratulations, Clayton Keller. I want to get Robyn to a couple more topics here. We'll talk about the Stanley Cup Final in just a moment, but Pete DeBoer out in Dallas. We talked about this. I talked a couple episodes ago about how I personally watched Pete DeBoer absolutely ruin the Vegas Golden Knights goaltending situation and eventually get shown the door there for kind of lighting it on fire and giggling while he added gas. Like, DeBoer just gives zero bleeps. He just does not care. And we've seen him do it on repeat. You've seen him do it. You know the Pete DeBoer show.
Yeah.
You grew up watching the Pete DeBoer show.
It happened later in my career.
Dallas.
Happened when I was in college. The Pete DeBoer era happened during my college years, but still, like.
Sorry, I was making you a little older than you actually are. That was my bad. I was working for the Preds when Pete DeBoer was coaching the Sharks, so I got to actually stare.
Pete DeBoer didn't start coaching the Sharks until 2016. Todd McClellan
would have been McClellan then. Where was DeBoer?
DeBoer was the Devils before.
Oh yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So
if you're a former Devils fan, or maybe you are still a Devils fan, which is listening to the show for some reason, so if you are a former Devils, Sharks, Golden Knights, Dallas fan, you understand.
Oh my goodness. And Jake Ottinger, I mean, kudos to Jake Ottinger. Didn't really publicly say anything, but this is a good move for Jake Ottinger, because the DeBoer doubling down on blaming Jake Ottinger was utter trash. So I think, and look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm a huge Dallas Stars proponent or anything like that. I'm definitely not, but I think it was a smart move. So, but I also want to say, I told you so. The whole point of me wanting to bring that up, Robyn.
Yeah, no, it does make me think back to the comment that I got. Someone says that I just like Pete DeBoer, and I'm like I don't know where you got that. It's like, it's just I think we remember too that comment where, like, to me, it was mentioning how the Dallas Stars reminded me of of the San Jose Sharks team that Pete DeBoer was coaching at the time. So I think I had the sympathy and I wanted them to win, but it wasn't because of Pete DeBoer. It was because they reminded me of that team.
Yeah, but unfortunately it was not to be. And so now the Stanley Cup Final finds itself, the first two games in Edmonton have gone one aside, and some overtime thrillers in Edmonton. The Oilers win game 1. The Panthers win game 2. I tell you what, it's been actually a really good series.
It has been an amazing series. I will say about complaint that I think like it's been on ESPN and not ABC or whatever it is. Like,
No, it's not even on ESPN this year. It's on TNT.
it's on TNT. Oh, there we go. It's on TNT.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. See, that's what and that's the issue, right? That's the biggest issue with it is because it's on cable and not network. It's harder to reach, and now there's significantly less people watching. Like they said, this is one of the lowest Stanley Cup ratings that they've had in years, versus like last year when I was on ABC, in which they had the highest. Because guess what? That's free cable. That's free network TV right there. If you have an antenna, you can watch the show. You can watch the game. But with TNT, you actually have to have a cable subscription to something. Like that's my job. That's my beef. That's a little side beef. But it has been great. It has been fantastic. The matchup has been great. And you could see the energy in the air. Too. I mean, when Edmonton tied it, forced overtime in game 2, like, oh my God, it was insane.
Robyn, and you're not wrong in your point about this game should be broadcast over the air on traditional television, because this has been maybe the most exciting first 2 games of any Stanley Cup in the last 5 to 10 years. It has been close. It's been nail-biting. These two teams know each other from last year. They are both playing, I would argue, at the top of their games.
Mm-hmm.
They are firing on all cylinders, both of them. And the answers for the goals that are scored, it's just tit for tat. It's immediate. It is just, it's amazing to see.
I mean, game 2, like both of these games going requiring extra hockey.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not going to get any easier in the series.
Oh no, it's only going to get.
And the thing about game 2, love it or hate it, it was the pests who made the headlines. It was Marchand. It was, my boy Corey Perry. And that's total sarcasm, by the way, if you are listening, not watching. I am not a Corey Perry fan at all. But and there are a lot of people who don't like Marchand. But look, if you're going to ask me to pick a guy I'd rather have on my team, I'll pick Marchand over Perry. But this, Robyn, the thing is, these guys can play. They can all play. They are all contributing. We're getting some big saves, even though we're still getting 4 goals for each team in a game. Like, it's crazy right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're like, it was funny too, because I was watching the, like watching the live odds go up, right? And how things go. And the total points at one point went to 9.5, right? It's like, that's insane. Like, think about this. Those that listen to the show know we give out the odds every single game. And most of the time, the odds makers usually make a total points at around 6.5, 5.5. It never goes really more than those numbers. But when it gets up to 9.5, it really shows, oh my God, like these guys are just scoring. But at the same time, as you mentioned, the goalies are still making good saves. I mean, Bob is Bob. Like, oh my God. Like,
and I got to give Stuart Skinner credit.
Yes.
Skinner is, I will say this, Skinner has not been solid in the series, but has gotten pieces of everything. And right now that's enough. And if Edmonton keeps playing defense as much as Edmonton can, it might be enough. I'm still sticking with my call of Panthers in 7, but Robyn, I believe every bit of 7 games to settle this.
Yeah, I'm still sticking with the Oilers in 7, because I feel like they, from what I've been able to see, I mean, game 2, I feel like Edmonton still could have won that game. I think it it's to me, I think they've got the fire and the heat running through them. Like, they want it. They don't want the repeat of last year.
Yeah, no, they absolutely do. It's exciting. It's so much fun. I love it. Yeah, like you said, the electricity is there.
Plus, now, I mean, you just have was it Rogers Arena? What is it called? Rogers Place. I got to think, because there's so many different Rogers, whatever. But Rogers Place.
Rogers something.
Yeah, Rogers Place, and the Edmonton Oilers locker room blasting Pink Pony Club from Chapel Roan. That was not on my Stanley Cup bingo card, but here we are. But you know what? I am here for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am absolutely here for it. Not to mention, like it's getting Wayne Gretzky to dance to the song. Like that's.
I might have been able to skip that part. We might have been able to do without that, but I'm okay with that. But give me more Charles Barkley talking about the NHL. I love that. So
that's great. That's always a good time.
Yes, so it is. It's actually been fun to watch. So hope you're having fun watching it too. And hey, it's tied at 1. So if you haven't given us your predictions yet, feel free to drop them in the comments there. And you know what? We look forward to chatting with you online as well. Robyn, where can they find us on social media?
You can find us everywhere on social media at Locked On Mammoth. That's at Locked On Mammoth. You can find me personally at Robyn _Leaño. That's Robyn with a Y _Leano.
And you can find me on Blue Sky at Tom Talks, and hanging out on Twitter occasionally at Callahan on Air. I have been trying to be a little better going back to Twitter because I feel like, that's just hockey people still live there. But yeah, either way, it's a lot of fun to hear from all of you, and we so much appreciate you being a part of the show. Robyn and I are going to dive back into more things like potential free agents, more draft coverage. We're going to do some reviews of the players that we haven't talked about yet, and a couple who went to dinner with Bill Armstrong. So stay tuned. It's going to be a fun week. Enjoy Game 3, everybody, and we will talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks for being a part of Locked On Mammoth.